Hello, my name is Roy Thompson, and we're located up in Hebron Township in Potter County. Where I'm standing now is the aftermath of a field of Canadian field peas and triticale. This is about a 2-acre plot that we put in for test purposes this year in an attempt to finish and grow out market lambs on a forage. This area that I'm walking across right now has been grazed over about a week to 10 days ago. And as we walk up this way, we can observe that in the early stages we got a real good cleanup job on this. We have about 200 or a little over 200 market lambs weighing anywhere from 50 to 100 pounds grazing this. As we come up to the area where you see a little bit more stubble, it's where the forage is getting a little more mature. We're not getting quite as good a cleanup, but we're still being quite effective with it. This forage was planted on April 20th with a standard grain drill, seeded at about 150 pounds of seed to the acre. And by June 20th, we started grazing it, and it looks as if we should have started a little bit earlier. But this is what the trial was for this year, to see exactly how this would work and what our time frame would be, and to refine the idea of forage finishing of lambs. We planted this in several plots. If we'll look off to that direction, we'll see that there are some that we planted about 2 months later. And as soon as this plot is finished, where I'm standing now, we will move the fences the other way. And so generally what we do here is move our fences depending on the time that we have. When we started out, we were moving the fence about 4 times a day and giving them about 6 feet or so of new forage 4 times a day across this plot. I'm going to move this about 3 or 4 feet here today, right at this point in time, so we can see how it works, what has to be done as a demonstration. What we're using here is a perimeter fence of 2 metal wires and 1 poly wire, and these are energized from in the barn with 110 volt New Zealand type or English type energizer. The cross fence that I do the moving with is just 3 strands of poly wire, and we can move this enough generally without letting a lot of slack out, so that we can go right along. I will go back and let just a little bit of slack out of these reels so we can get up and get about 4 to 6 feet of new forage at this point. If everything goes smoothly, you can move this fence in about 5 minutes. With the forage this tall, the only drawback with it is keeping the bottom wire low enough so that lambs will stay, it'll be at least nose height. And this tends to prevent them from crawling under it. There's no great danger with it shorting out. With this type of an energizer, shorting out is not a problem. It can be almost totally buried in the forage and have no adverse effect. With forage this tall, the only thing we have to do is walk back up the line, the fence line, and kick some of the bigger stuff out from under it. Poke the bottom wire down, because it does have a tendency to bridge up, particularly on these viney Canadian field peas. As I said, the secret to keeping lambs in this type of a fence is to having the bottom wire at nose height. And with lambs, that's a heck of a lot lower than you really think it is. Because when they're up next to this fence, they generally have their head down eating and their nose almost on the ground. So we try to run the bottom wire at about 3 inches off the ground. Now we'll just take a moment to tighten up any slack we may have gained, because generally after you do this, all 3 wires don't come out even. And then we'll reconnect the power. We just have a jumper wire on here from the main outside fence that powers this with the same voltage as the perimeter fence on this plot. Okay, I'll go back up and let the lambs out, and we'll see what they do. Okay, lamb, you ready for some supper? Come on, let's go get some supper. Are you ready? Come on. Come on, go get some supper. It'll take them a moment to realize that I've moved the fence up because they've been in the barn and didn't see it. As we can see from where I'm standing in here, there tends to be quite a bit of forage. Some places it's waist high. The Canadian field peas cling to the triticale and it holds them up, keeping them in an upright position. This is part of the plan here so that the peas don't always lay flat on the ground. This forage could be harvested by any means as far as using it for a green chop or for a silage. It's quite high in protein. The width across this field at the larger part was around 200 feet. As we've come out through this area, we've narrowed down to about 150 feet. It gives room for about all the lambs to get in and eat at one time. There's enough forage left on here, estimating from the past week or two, we've probably got another 6 to 7 days on this field. Then we'll move back across and start on the younger stuff. Most of the lambs are out here from this group. As I said, there's over 200. We did sort off any lambs under about 50 pounds and keep them in the barn on a grain ration. It's our feeling that a lamb under 50 pounds does not have the rumen capacity to utilize this forage and really do well on it. Maybe we